Good afternoon, Rotarians and guests. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Toledo. Today we're going to have another great program with Dr. Barbara Kopp Miller. I'd now like to start the meeting by asking Pat Sheehan to come to the podium to deliver a reflection and have Ryan Beckstead lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Dear God, thank you for this special day. In these early days of June, we celebrate and thank you for the awesome beauty of the outdoors and the extra fun that summer brings. Cookouts, family reunions, mud hen games, and more. However, as we celebrate the summer, we lift up our farmer friends who want so badly to be working in their fields and planting their crops. They have to be really frustrated. Please bring them peace. We thank you for bringing Dr. Barbara Kopp Miller to us today. We thank you for her leadership as a dean at the University of Toledo and the blessing of the university as one of our city's anchor institutions. Please bless our fellowship today and bless this food to the nourishment of our bodies in your service. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pat. As we begin our meeting today, I'd like to thank and acknowledge Max Reddish with Danbury, this month's sponsor. We do not have any visiting Rotarians today, but if you have another guest, we'd love to have you introduce them at the floor mic so we can see and hear you.
President Dick, please say hello to my guest, Jason Daniels. Jason is self-employed, has his own business with his wife, Jay Ramon, and they do leadership development and strategy consulting.
Welcome, Jason. Nice to have you.
President Dick, I have with me today Mark Polnich with Hart Associates. Thank you.
Mark, great to have you here.
Hi, President Dick. I have with me Tara Chabowski. She's with Jupe Mode, the company that printed all 24,000 of those T-shirts for the walleye. Tara Chabowski.
All right, Tara, nice to have you with us. Great, thank you. Great to have you all here. I'm sure you'll enjoy today's program. Now would be a great time to check into social media. Always a good time to like Toledo Rotary on Facebook. And then I ask that you please silence your phones so we can all enjoy the rest of the meeting. You probably saw in the Spoke this past week that the Rotary Club Board has nominated Bob DiNardo to fill the vacancy in the vice presidential sequence. And that's pursuant to our Constitution. What the board would like is to have this recommendation affirmed by the members today. This would place Bob as the vice president of the club as of July 1st of 2019, and he would be in line to be president of our club for the year 2021 to 2022. So the board has nominated and seconded Bob to be vice president. I would like a show of hands now, please. All those in favor of Bob becoming vice president? Thank you very much. Any opposed? It looks to be unanimous to me, so congratulations, Bob. And Bob, if you'd please stand up so we can congratulate you formally. Be a great addition to the board and the executive committee. Speaking of Bob and his group of MESA, Bob's been the head of MESA for the last couple of years, and we had a great bonus ride this past weekend, starting in the middle grounds. I believe we have some pictures coming up to show some of that. I do want to thank Ford Bennett and Mike Noble from the International Services Committee, who really put the bonus ride together. And we had about 35 riders. They were from all over the district. And I understand that, there we go. I understand that so far, we've raised approximately, or a little over $10,000 for the whole Mesa ride that started Saturday. The regular ride goes on this week. And Mark Makalinsky's foundation is going to match up to $5,000 that we earned through the bonus ride on Saturday. So we had a beautiful day. The Go Bikes were out, the nice folks from Go Bikes, the yellow bikes downtown, let a few riders use those if they didn't have bikes. And I just think a great time was had by all. And I want to thank Rotarian Mark Urrutia for those great pictures. So if you were there on Saturday and participated, would you please stand? And again, all the funds go to medical equipment supplies abroad. We give a lot of medical equipment to areas really in need throughout the world that just don't have the medical equipment to take care of their folks. So it's a great thing that our district does. Another great thing coming up is the Black Tie Affair this Saturday night. And I want to one more time thank the Black Tie Affair sponsors, our presenting sponsors, Emma Steria and ID Properties, major sponsors Marquis, Lamar, Two Scale, Spengler Nathanson, Thread Marketing Group, and Cumulus, and our supporting sponsors, Commerce Paper, Toledo Ticket, Silverback Supply, and McElhaney. And now, speaking of the Black Tie Affair, our own golden boy, Alex Dew.
Wonder if I'll ever live that nickname down. So, a riddle for everyone here. It's a fairly easy one. So, what, if purchased, benefits the foundation? Hang on, I'm not done yet. And two, if selected, allows you to pick any one of the live auction items.
Whoa.
The golden ticket. Very, very intelligent crowd. So, as everybody knows, the golden ticket allows you to choose any live auction item before the live auction starts on Saturday at the affair. You will have one, maybe two more opportunities to purchase that ticket. Now, I have Golden Girl Shireen and Golden Girl Katie on each side of the room. If you are interested in buying your golden ticket now, please raise your hand and they will come take care of you.
I'm sure they know they don't have to be here too.
Also, note that you do not have to be at the event to buy the ticket. You would simply just write your selection from the auction on your ticket. And therefore, if your ticket's drawn, or I should say when your ticket is drawn, we'll already know which item you have selected. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Alex. Now I'd like to ask Janina Douglas to come to the podium to make an announcement about the Water Service Committee.
I was about 2 inches from the edge of the stage in that chair. I just want you to know this was a balancing act that I didn't fall off. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you, President Dick, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm proud to announce that we are in the 5th year of doing water monitoring in the Western Lake Erie Basin that's sponsored by Rotary. Every year, it's been evolving and getting better and better. It started 5 years ago. We should give credit to the Waterville Club and particularly Jim Page, who got it started. But they got it started with support from the district and support from this club. Last year, our evolution meant that we started a new analytical procedure, which is a better procedure for phosphorus. So we're closer and closer to being laboratory standard analytical. And we started getting sampling spots by working with the Lucas County Soil and Water Conservation Group. So we have identified spots that are really, really important to be sampled. This year, thanks to Mary Federke's connections, we've teamed up with the Toledo Zoo teens, and we've trained now over 22 zoo teens in doing the analytical. We do it Sunday afternoons for all the samples we take or that are brought into us. And the zoo teens are obviously a terrific group of people. I mean, just look at these beautiful, fresh, happy faces looking to do something good for the world. So it's a great introduction for them to Rotary also. It takes a team to do this, and we've had multiple universities help us. We've also had sponsorship and donations last year because we were switching analytical methods and had to buy some pretty expensive supplies. An anonymous donor stepped up from this club, and we also were funded by the North Branch Boys Fly Fishing Club. So we're very, very happy and pleased that they stepped up and did that. Now the ask. You can be part of the team. We could analyze more samples, but we need more sample takers. Last Saturday, you can see how easy it is. Last Saturday, we trained 3 Rotarians in taking water samples. We got Keith Hodkinson, our district governor nominee, our president-elect, Tim Ryan, and Jerry Peacock from the Waterville Club. It's easy. You don't have to do the analytical anymore if you don't want to. You can bring it in. We'll do it with the zoo teens. So it's simple. If you're interested, get in touch with myself or with Jim Page. Send us an email, call us on the phone. We'll get you water sample bottles, and we'll work with you to find a spot that's close to you, convenient. So it's easy. Please think about it. It'd be great to have 100 samples coming in, but we'd be happy if we were doing 10 or 20 a week. Okay? So I look forward to working with you, and thanks very much for listening.
Thanks, Janina. And of course, you all know that water advocacy is one of our transformational projects, and it's an ongoing project, and this just fits right into all of that we're trying to do to make a difference here in our water quality. I'd now like to ask Rotarian Kevin Carr to the podium to introduce our new member, Ryan Beckstead.
Thank you, President Dick. Fellow Rotarians, I'm pleased to introduce my friend Ryan Beckstead. Currently, Ryan is an orthopedic implant sales representative for Case Medical. Case Medical is a distributor of Zimmer Biomet. The favorite part of his job is working in the operating room with all the talented surgeons and residents to help the procedures go smoothly and assist where he can. Ryan grew up in Sylvania and is the oldest of 3. Actually played lacrosse and went to high school and lived with his younger brother Matt in college, so I know the family pretty well. He went to St. Francis de Sales for high school, graduating 1 year ahead of me. Go Knights. He graduated from Lourdes University, where he got a degree in biology. After graduating, he became a neurophysiologist, if I can say that, for Nuvasive Clinical Services, where he found his passion for the operating room. He played golf at St. Francis and at Lourdes, and currently he lives in Sylvania. He regularly volunteers with an organization called Uplift. They collect new and gently used sporting goods for underprivileged children. He enjoys being outdoors and doing activities like golf, skiing, basketball, camping, anything on the water. On the weekends, you'll find him on the golf course with his friends and family, so clearly he likes to golf. Whenever I think I'm playing pretty well and need a reality check, I can always rely on him to put me in my place. His favorite quote is, "Relax, nothing is under control." And his biggest pet peeve, which I can agree with, is Yankees fans. Go Red Sox. So please give Ryan a warm welcome to Rotary.
Welcome. Thank you very much. Thanks, Kevin, and thanks, Ryan. And now I'd like to ask Rotarian Jim Scheib to the podium to introduce today's speaker.
Thank you, Dick. Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians and guests. On October 7th last year, the Golden Society of the University of Toledo held its homecoming luncheon at the Inverness Club. To be a member of this organization, you must be a 50-year graduate of the University of Toledo. Therefore, this young group has members aged 72 and over. Our speaker was most impressive. She has her Bachelor's of Science in Psychology, Master's in Art in Psychology, a graduate certificate of Gerontology, and a doctorate in philosophy in psychology, all from that school down south, Bowling Green State University. She is currently Dean of the University College and Administrative Director of the Center for Successful Aging. She has been at the university since 1991. As a social psychologist and gerontologist, Barbara continues to be sought-after speaker for community events. She has given over 150 presentations across the region and state. As a strong community advocate, she served in leadership roles for organizations such as the Alzheimer Association of Northwest Ohio, the Northwest Ohio Gerontology Association, the Great Lakes Collaborative for Autism, Sunset Retirement Communities, Santa International of Toledo, and the University of Toledo Catherine S. Eberly Center. Dr. Kopp Miller has received the 20 Under 40 Award for Community Service, that was in 2003, the Heartbeat Award in 2004, the Jefferson Award for Public Service in 2009, and the Alice H. Skeens Outstanding University Woman Award from the University of Toledo Women's Commission in 2012. Barbara also is a former member of the Rotary, and we are getting close to having her rejoin us. Barbara is spending time with her husband and son, and we welcome Dr. Barbara Kopp Miller, Dean, University College, whose topic is Getting Older is Not for Sissies.
Well, it's great to be back. I mean, I recognized everyone when they came in, and it's good to see Brad and Judy and Mary, and of course, Mark and Katie and Kathy, although I have to talk to them about the pictures they got of me. I'm not quite sure where those came from. One, I think, was when I was in my 40s, so we have that. Today, I want to talk a little bit about getting older is not for sissies, but I also want to send some gentle reminders to you. I'll throw in some funnies. What I'm about to say is not rocket science. It's things you've probably already heard, but when I talked to Walter earlier today, he said we put it in a nice package for you to share and to share with other people that you love and the people that you work with. So for the next 20 minutes or so, take your time, think about yourself, be a little bit selfish, think about the ones that you love, and see if maybe you can take some things away from this. What I'd like to start off first, though, is what is aging successfully? So we do know that aging is a privilege that not everyone gets, and we also know that it depends on your perspective. So some people say old age is 15 years older than I am, right? You get that? That's old age. My mom said she didn't feel old till I turned 40. Then she said she really felt old when I turned 50. And now we both turned 55 and 85. So she figures her age is old as how old I am. Some people also say it takes about 10 years to get used to how old you are. You get in one decade, and then all of a sudden you're in another decade. George Byrne says, I stay away from natural foods. At my age, I need all the preservatives I can get, right? So there you go on that. But we do notice our age right in our 30s, if you believe it or not. Our hearing and our sight, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But if you're living, you're aging. And that's what I want you to think about, is the living part of aging. We all know healthy adults who are in their 80s, right? And we know some very frail 50-year-olds. So basically, once you reach your 40s, you know very little about a person based on their age. Keep that in mind. And what you want to get to is eventually you will reach a point where you stop lying about your age and you start bragging about it, right? So let's put it into perspective again. What we know is by 2020, 25% of our population will be 65 years and older, 25%. In fact, 10,000 people turn 65 every day. That's 1 in every 8 seconds. It's a lot. So in my talk here, 150 are going to turn 65. I'm guessing they're not this group, but 150 people in 20 minutes. So that's a lot of people. And what do we know about these baby boomers and beyond? We know a couple of things. We know that they are the longest living cohort of adults. Some of them will spend more time in retirement than they did working. We know that they're the best educated cohorts of older adults. We know that they're the healthiest cohort of older adults. We also know they're the largest cohort of retirees, and they're the most engaged cohorts of adults. So this says something about that group of individuals, very, very powerful group of individuals, both socially, volunteering-wise, and politically. We also know that we have done a really good job of increasing how long people live. I'm not sure we've done as good of a job in making that life worth livable. And some of you may know people that falls under. So I think that that's part of our responsibility and a little bit of what I wanted to talk to you about today. So if we look at aging successfully, we can break it down into 3 parts: physically, mentally, and socially. And I think we all really get the physical part. We hear that, we do it, physical activity, health tests, we all know about that. But think about your eyesight and hearing. Think about reaction time, muscle strength. And the things that we can do to really help to have a successful life, 2 things come to mind. 1, wear your seatbelt. That sounds silly, but the older you get, the longer it takes you to fight off disease or disability. For every day that an older adult spends in the hospital, it will take 1 week to recover at home. 4 days, 4 weeks. So you might say, some geriatricians will say, we want to get older adults out of the hospital as soon as possible. So we know that. The other thing that you can do is to trust your doctor. Do you trust them to make life-deciding decisions with you? And if you're thinking about that and you don't trust your doctor, I suggest you find another one. We have great resources in Toledo, great geriatricians, great family practitioners, and great home care companies as well. So that's something you have control over. And anything that you have control over can give you more meaning and purpose in life. If you look at the 10 most chronic conditions here, these are what's prevalent as you age for 65 and older. I want to talk a little bit more about dementia. It's down at the bottom, and it's 11% of those age 65 and older. Here's where the statistics gets a little bit confusing. If you look at individuals age 85 and older, 25 to 50% will show symptoms of dementia. So it's important to look at those numbers and to look at the effect of that. How many of you have had someone who's affected by dementia? Sure, it affects the whole family. I was with the Alzheimer's Association for a long time on their board, and I think we forget the human component of dementia and its effects. So I want to tell you a little story about Sam. I'm going to read it to you so I get it right. It was a busy morning, about 8:30, when Sam in his 80s arrived to have stitches removed from his thumb. He said he was in a hurry as he had an appointment at 9 o'clock. Took his vital signs, had him take a seat, knowing it would be an hour before someone was going to be able to see him. I saw him looking at his watch, decided since I wasn't busy with another patient, I'll evaluate his wound. On exam, it was well healed, so I talked to one of the doctors, got the needed supplies, and removed the stitches. Well, taking care of his wound, I asked him if he had another doctor's appointment, and he said he seemed to be in a hurry. He told me no, he just needed to go to the nursing home to eat breakfast with his wife. I inquired to her health, and he told me that they'd been there for a while and that she had Alzheimer's disease. As we talked, I asked if he'd be upset if he was a bit late. He replied that she no longer knew who he was, that she hadn't recognized him for years. I was surprised and asked him, and you still go every morning, even though she doesn't know who you are? He smiled, patted my hand, and said, she doesn't know me, but I still know her. And I think that humanizes dementia, a disease of the brain, not of the person. And even if we don't know if they know us, we still know them and should treat them with that dignity. That gets me to mental. and the mental aspect of aging. You're going to see it a couple times. Stay around positive people. Surround yourself with positive people. Act positive. How many of you have people you go into work and you go into their office and you're perfectly satisfied and happy and you walk out mad? I stay away from those people. I don't even let them into my office anymore. So it's just like, no. And mentally take stock of your blessings. I think sometimes we forget how blessed we are. And this is a great club with lots of treasures that I think that you can be proud of. But we also know that there are some top fears that we have. The loss of independence, declining health, loss of money. A lot of these people who retired early didn't know they were going to have retirement and didn't save up enough for 20, 30 years. We're seeing a number of people go back to work in their 70s and 80s. Not being able to live at home, a big fear, as well, of course, of death of a spouse or a family member. We also know that an inability to manage your daily activities can be very distressing, not being able to drive. My specialty is in grief and bereavement as well. Do a lot of grief and bereavement talks, worked with Judy a lot with hospice. And I gave a talk there, it was actually at hospice. And a couple years later, I had a woman come up to me and she had heard my grief and bereavement message and she says, "You're missing a point here, Barbara." She said, "You never talk how you grieve when you can't drive anymore." And she goes, "Promise me you'll say that in all of your future talks." And it was really eye-opening to me, and it's like, that's true, it's a grief reaction, and it's a tough thing when you take away someone's keys, because it may be the best thing for them, safety-wise, and you might have family members who are happy about it, and a very unhappy older adult. We see that a lot when I was in the dementia clinic with Dr. McGreevy. Family members were very happy, but the person was not. Isolation or loneliness, obviously. Strangers caring for them, and lots of fear of falling. And we have lots of things that can help with this, like I said, in Toledo, but those are common fears. And I think we have the right and we owe them the respect to acknowledge that those fears exist and helping them to overcome those fears. Socially, a couple things go on. I think remembering the value of positive people, you've seen it again, reaching out to others, pets. I think we don't validate enough what pets can do in a person's life. Grandchildren. Helping people to live alone, even when they're with other people, and the value of touch and love. My mom became a widow at age 52, so I've been alive longer without my dad than I was with my dad. And it was very, very tough to not see him age, right? But now to see my mom age. Again, she's been widowed longer than she'd been married. And so the value of helping her live alone, figuratively alone, in a big old farmhouse outside of Stony Ridge can be tough. And I think we can help individuals do that. But to lighten it up a bit, I think we need to get a perspective of what is love. And so who best to ask but 4 to 8-year-olds? So here's what they have to say. Billy, age 4, when someone loves you, the way they say your name is different. You just know that your name is safe in their mouth. Pretty good. Carl, age 5, is very practical. Love is when a girl puts on perfume and a boy puts on shaving cologne and they go out and smell each other. Terry, back to being a little softy. Love is what makes you smile when you're tired. Emily, love is when you kiss all the time. Then when you're tired of kissing, you still want to be together and you talk more. My mommy and daddy are like that. They look gross when they kiss. Bobby, this is a wow. Love is what's in the room with you during the holidays if you stop opening presents and listen. Nika, if you want to learn to love better, you should start with a friend who you hate. Noelle, age 7, love is when you tell a guy you like his shirt and he wears it every day. Mark, love is when mommy sees daddy on the toilet and she doesn't think it's gross. Jessica, you really shouldn't say I love you unless you mean it, but if you mean it, you should say it a lot. People forget. The winner, though, was a 4-year-old child whose next-door neighbor was an elderly gentleman who had recently lost his wife. Upon seeing the man cry, the little boy went into the old gentleman's yard, climbed onto his lap, and just sat there. When his mother asked what he had said to the neighbor, the little boy said nothing. I just helped him cry. think that's good. And I think that also takes us to helping people find meaning and purpose. I've said it before. If we don't have meaning and purpose in our life, there's no way we can age successfully. And sometimes they're going to reach out to us to help find that meaning of person and purpose, especially if they've lost a loved one, a child, a grandchild, really tough things to take. When an older adult buries their child or their grandchild, they're in a whole new world and a whole different way of finding meaning and purpose in what they're doing. And so to keep that in mind when you're helping individuals. We do have some things that are good about getting older. We know from research that older adults have a happier outlook than they did when they were younger. Grandchildren can be a very positive aspect of someone growing older. People say they have more time for loved ones, more of an opportunity to pursue their own dreams, and more time for volunteering. But I want to go back to the grandchildren, because again, 4 to 8-year-olds have definitions. Grandparents are a lady and a man who have no little children of their own. They like other people's. Grandparents don't have to do anything except be there when we come to see them. They are so old, we shouldn't play hard or have them run. It's good if they drive us to the shops and give us money. They don't say, hurry up. When they read to us, they don't skip. They don't mind if we ask the same story over again. Everybody should try to have a grandmother, especially if you don't have television, because they are the only grown-ups who like to spend time with us. That's a statement. A 6-year-old was asked where his grandma lived. Oh, he said, she lives at the airport, and we want her, we just go get her there. And then when we're done visiting her, we take her back to the airport. How many of us represent that fact, right? And lastly, it's funny when they bend over. You hear gas leaks and they blame their dogs. There's still a few more things about getting older that are good. Wisdom, better social skills, discounts if you like those, a sense of accomplishment. And I think that sense of accomplishment is where I want to end. When Jim and them asked me when I talked at their group, I ended with the poem called The Dash. You all might know this, it's been around for a long time. It's called by Linda Ellis. But it's something that I think is nice to remember and sums up my entire talk, as short as it is. I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on her tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came her date of birth and spoke the following date with tears. But he said what mattered most of all was the dash between those years. For that dash represents all the time that she spent alive on earth. And now only those who loved her know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live in love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that you have and can still be rearranged. If we could just slow down enough to consider what's true and real, and always try to understand the way other people feel, and be less quick to anger, and show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect, and more often wear a smile, remember that this special dash might only last a little while. So when your eulogy is being read, with your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say about how you spent your dash? Thank you. Any questions, comments?
Just a comment, I had an experience many years ago at Millionaire Roundtable in New York City. Dr. Leo Buscaglia was our speaker, and he said, tell people you love them during your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Any other questions or comments? Great, thank you.
Thank you, Barbara, for today's great program to show our appreciation Our Toledo Rotary Club Foundation will make a donation in your name to the Rotary International Polio Plus Fund. And we also have this book of historical tales of Toledo for you. So thanks again for speaking to us. Please join us next week when Justin Carter from the Hollywood Casino will be our speaker. Following today's program, Vocational Services will be meeting in the North Cape Room. Ryan, welcome again to Toledo Rotary, and Kevin, thank you very much for introducing Ryan to us. And now, back and better than ever, Past President Chuck Mann.
Tom, there we go. It was entertainment night at Shady Rest. Claude the hypnotist exclaimed, "I'm here to put you in a trance. I intend to hypnotize each and every member of this audience." The excitement was almost electric as Claude withdrew a beautiful antique pocket watch from his coat. "I want each of you to keep your eye on this antique watch. It's a very special watch. It's been in my family for 6 generations." He began to swing the watch back and forth while quietly chanting, "Watch the watch, watch the watch, watch the watch." The crowd became mesmerized as the watch swayed back and forth, light gleaming off its polished surfaces. Hundreds of pairs of eyes followed the swaying watch until suddenly it slipped from the hypnotist's finger and fell to the floor, shattering into 100 pieces. "Crap," said the hypnotist. It took 3 days to clean up at Shady Rest.
Oh. Well. I hope you all have a great week, and I hope to see many of you at the Black Tie Fair on Saturday. Please remember to continue to be servants out there so we can be the inspiration. We are adjourned.
I didn't quite get that one.
But it took 3